the other bizarre stories that happened here over the last couple of days is what happened to the Why Me, the breast cancer charity here. And, you know, the walks, the Why Me has been doing these walks for years, these breast cancer walks. They're very effective. A lot of people get involved in them. Very emotional things. And now, all of a sudden, Why Me up and closes its doors. And there's a lot of questions about what has happened here. Darlene Hill.
Hey there.
Hey, from the Fox Chicago.
On radio, you guys can say it's hot as hell outside. I love that. We can't do that on the news.
Oh, you should do that.
We can't do that because we would probably say it's hot as a. No, we wouldn't.
So what happened here, do we think?
You know what? It's amazing because I talked to one of the board members, the interim president of the board, and with Why Me, and she said it's just about finances. While they had, for the first time ever, 30,000 people participate in that Why Me race on Mother's Day, they raised $2 million. It just isn't enough to keep the lights on and their infamous hotline going. That hotline has been around for 32 years. It was the only 24-hour hotline where women who were diagnosed that day or, you know, finally get the courage up to call and say, how do I deal with this? They could call that number at 2 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast, West Coast. It's just gone now, you guys.
Well, is there any sense that that $2 million that they raised, was that going to, what was that going to? Was that going to the care of people, to creating facilities for people, just paying the people in the charity? What was it?
Well, straight up, I asked her about that. What's going to happen with the money? Because I'm sure a lot of us in the area gave to that, you know, on Mother's Day. And she did tell me that it had to pay the bills, had to pay the staff, had to pay, because these women provided wigs. They provided, you know, all kinds of care and attention for women when they find out that they're diagnosed with breast cancer. They'd send them wigs. They'd send them prosthetics. They'd send them, you know, that kind of stuff. So they had already had stuff already in-house. They had to pay the bills. And they said they just did not have enough money to keep paying. They couldn't go on another year without it. So, I mean, I'm sure an investigation, Jan Schakowsky has asked for to conduct an investigation, but they said everything is on the up and up. Here's our books. But we can't do it.
Yeah. Well, have they actually opened the books yet? Has anybody seen the books?
I haven't seen them. It was an emotional day. We were the first to break that story Thursday evening because it crossed on their website about 4 o'clock saying that, you know, Why Me is shutting its doors. We ran right on over and got people who had worked there 8, 10 years, 12 years as they were walking out of the office. They were crying. And here they found out that day, Roe and Roper, that they didn't have a job. And the only thing these women were concerned about is talking to women on the 800.
Yeah, we're talking about some wonderful people, Darlene. Although, as you say, you know, there's always that, you know, the reporter in us has to be a little bit suspicious and just ask the questions when the doors close so quickly, and even the employees weren't given advance warning.
And they said, well, they raised $2 million. That may sound like a lot, but they said in years past it had been so much more. Their big fundraisers or their big donors didn't give like they used to. Well, there are a lot of organizations, and the president did say there are a number of local as well as national non-for-profits that are, you know, folding up because the big donors aren't giving.
Yeah, but something as high profile as Why Me, and is still making $2 million. You know, closing the doors completely is suspicious as opposed to layoffs. Exactly. You know, because you can keep an organization $2 million of cash flow that they raised in May,
right,
and it's July.
Where's that money?
I mean, they couldn't have. I mean, they may have had existing bills, or may have been other things. There are questions that are legitimate to ask about where that specific money is, and they need it. There will be an investigation.
Rose's absolutely right. And Darlene, I would ask, and I don't know what the answer to this is. I mean, had we heard a little bit about this? Because also, as Ro mentioned, with such a high-profile organization that meant so much to so many people, that's the type of organization that can make can go public, can go to Darlene Hill at Fox, can come to Roe and Roper, can go to the Sun-Times and say, look, we're in trouble. And, you know, you might get some angel with a big pocketbook to write a $5 million check.
Right. And that's what some of the employees said to me. They want to know how come they didn't make this public before it was time to close the doors.
Right.
They had questions.
There's a question right there.
Yeah, and you know, and this is a Chicago-based company. I mean, Chicago-based not-for-profit. It started with 2 women who were diagnosed back in 76, 77. They started the organization in their kitchen.
Yeah.
Wow.
In their kitchen 32 years ago. So you're right. High-profile organization like this, somebody would have come forward.
And Charity Navigator, which is a group that looks at these at charities, because there are a lot of charities, and you do have to grade them because there are people out there.
Right.
And there was just a story a couple of weeks ago about this charity that was ripping off. There was a charity for disabled veterans. Right, and the people were running away with the money on that, and you have to be so careful because especially the ones that really tug at the heartstrings, and how many people, breast cancer is so widely pervasive in America that
that much of a sucker, though. I hate to hear that kind of those stories like that where they take advantage of veterans, they take advantage of survivors like this. I'd like to keep. I know
we all would
on this business, but I'd like to think that nobody would try to do. Nobody.
Yeah, but people do, and we don't know, and we have no idea what's happened here. But we certainly, you've already seen Ira Silverstein, who's a state senator, has come out. He was going to join us, and then now is not available to us. But he's calling for the Attorney General, Lisa Madigan, to investigate this. And you've got Jan Schakowsky asking for potentially a federal investigation of it. I mean, you've got someone will eventually get a look at that. All right,
40,000 calls a year through Why Me only. So now people are asking, where can they go now that Why Me is shut down? And the interim president gave me a name of a Living Beyond Breast Cancer. That's an organization out there now taking some calls, as well as this organization called Share. They're hoping that those people will step up.
Yeah, it's just so weird because they were so important. They were such a big part of the Chicago community for this. It's just
and had done such a good job of getting their name out there because there are so many organizations. But I mean, let's face it, Why Me was something that people knew what that was. They'd done such a great job of getting their message out there, and the organization itself was a go-to organization.
I mean, I live out in Beverly, and we have gotten to the point now where out there we have at least 8,000 to 10,000 people walking in the Beverly neighborhood.
Right. Yeah.
So we don't have to drive downtown. So it's really heartbreaking, disappointing for a lot of people to find out that this is folding. So.
Dar, thanks very much. Appreciate it. Darlene Hill from Fox Chicago.
Thanks, Darlene.
Say it one more time before I go.
It's hot as hell. It's hot as hell outside.
Take care.
You do that tonight, Dar. Hot as hell.
Oh, boy. It's good that we can break for levity, and it's always fantastic when a woman says to a guy, say that one more time, because usually it's the other way around.
Speaking of that.
Oh, great.
Mary Mitchell, who wrote about this in the Chicago Sun-Times today, is on the Super Celebrity Hotline. Mary, thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the invite.
$1.6 million Why Me was in the hole, according to Charity Navigator. I never got to complete that thought when we were talking to Darlene Hill about this. And you're a survivor. What is your sense of what's happened here?
Mismanagement. My sense is they overstepped their mission. The thing that made Why Me so different from other organizations that it was clear in what it was supposed to do. No woman would fight breast cancer alone. That there would be somebody there for you. And people knew that. I mean, long before I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I knew about Why Me. And every woman that I ran into at some point in their treatment had a hookup with Why Me. Mm-hmm. So I just think when the group got into I think the biggest thing they did, of course, is change their name. That costs money. It costs money to change every little,
letterhead and all those kinds of things.
Everything. Mm-hmm. I think that cost them in the millions. Had to. So that was a problem. They lost support. People just kind of fell away. So I think that was a problem. And the other thing is that, they were trying to compete. In later years, I thought, they were trying to compete with Avon. The Avon Walk and Susan G. Komen. And those are different organizations with a different mission, and they had a different group of supporters. The thing about Why Me is that it wasn't so much, it wasn't about raising money. They were raising money to do one thing, which is the hotline. So
right, it's to operate. And I want to be real clear about this too, because there are a lot of charities that will go and they will pay for things. They'll help people, they'll help families stay near hospitals, or they'll pick up what insurance isn't paying for,
right.
or they'll buy goods.
Free mammograms.
Right, things like that. That
was not their mission.
Right, their mission was, and that's Mary. I mean, to me, that is what's so surprising about this. If they raised a couple of $1 million and really they're running a hotline, I would imagine, are those all paid employees on the hotline, or are those volunteers?
No, most of the people were volunteers.
Yeah.
All the people I ran into was volunteers. I think I maybe, in my whole decade of dealing with this, that I only ran into one person who was literally paid. And even then when they did their walk, I mean, that was about a gathering of people. It was more about a gathering of people than it was about a fundraiser.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It was about the community and people having shared experiences.
Exactly.
And, Mary, you mentioned this about them changing their name to the Breast Cancer Network of Strength
What is that?
in 2008, and yet everybody today is saying Why Me is closing its doors. Nobody even knew. As you call it a baffling decision. At best, it's a baffling decision.
It was a poor decision. And I don't think the story is over. I think there's going to be an investigation into the money part of it. There's going to be because people are devastated. I've heard from women all day today who are literally devastated by this news.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody that has any connection to this or walked in this,
whatever, they feel cheated.
Yeah.
From the last campaign, last Mother's Day race, where they did raise that money. I mean, I think the way it was done too was pretty low down. I mean, think about it. If all you knew was Why Me, and you went to on the website yesterday, what was there? Nothing.
Right. It's mysterious.
Or you went to the hotline, there was nothing.
Nothing about here's where you could go now, and we're so sorry, and yeah.
Blah blah blah. This is organizations do a lot what we do. There was nothing. They didn't prepare women for this blow. So I think it was handled poorly. I think there will be an investigation into what happened to the money, and I don't think we heard the last of the story.
This feels like the corner mortgage broker in November of 2008. Right there one day, gone the next day, and there are a lot of questions about why, if you make the kind of the money that they said that they made last year, why you wouldn't pare down on operations and try to limp along and let people know that you were going out as opposed to just
let people know what's going on. So maybe it would have rallied people,
right? Exactly,
so that we could come to their aid, because this is not something that anybody that I know wanted to happen.
So true. Mary Mitchell, Chicago Sun-Times. Appreciate it, Mary. Thanks for being with us. All right.
Check out Mary's column today in the Sun-Times. Very personal story of how this affected her.
Coming up, another opportunity to rip us off for invitations to join us at the MB Financial Park in Rosemont, the brand new, beautiful entertainment facility out there at the Zanies Comedy Club a week from Friday. Stay close. And coming up, famed divorce attorney will join us to talk about Dwayne Wade's ex-wife now on her 13th divorce attorney. How the hell does that happen? It's hot outside.